So have you ever wanted to take your make.com scenarios and your N8N workflows and turn them into an actual functioning user application that your clients and customers can use without having to show them an automation and maybe even logging them in to make.com or N8N and having them to initiate those scenarios on your own or on their own, or even have them have your automations to kick off, um, behind the scenes. Well, that has always been one of my problems when building out these automations, is trying to figure out how to come up with a way that I can make this more user friendly. Because when I build these applications for clients, a lot of those clients want to have hands-on interaction with the products that you build for them. And so the best way to do that before now was to go in and maybe do some vibe coding and build out a full interface, a full UI that you can kind of go back and maybe connect these workflows and these scenarios through webhooks and all kind of other technical processes that you guys use. But how about if I told you there is a way that you can take your basic N8N or your basic or even your advanced make.com scenarios, and with a few clicks of a button, you can turn that scenario into an actual user interface that your customers will just jump on. They'll be more happy and more excited to use your services when they have something in front of them that they can touch and feel. And it will save you a ton of time on the back end after you've spent all that time building out these great automations, now having to go back and build a UI that kind of goes along with that. And so what I want to show you today is an application called Parse. And what Parse does is it helps you to free your automations from make.com or N8N and transform them into self-contained executable micro applications that you own completely. And so it's a very cool application, I think it is. And once I show it to you, you'll see for yourself how it can benefit you and save you time when you're building out these applications for your clients and your users. And so as you can see here on this website, it says parse. You can parse and analyze. So it has a deep understanding of make.com modules, flows, and connections. It helps you to generate code. You can transform visual logic into clean, maintainable Node.js or Python code. And it packages and deploys. So you can download a complete project with Docker config and documentation. So it's a really cool application. So what you do is you can come in here. You can take your workflows or your automations. You can either download them, save them as a JSON file, or you can simply copy and paste it, and you would drop it here into this builder. And what this builder will do is it will start to configure that code right into an application for you. So without me talking and botching this thing up, because I'm not very technical, and this is one of the reasons why I like it so much, because it's made for people who are not very technical. And so I want to show you just a basic workflow that I have here. So here's a basic workflow or scenario that I built in make.com, and it's a simple one. It's an article to blog post, and basically it takes an article that you drop into an Airtable. I'm using Perplexity to summarize that article. I'm going to generate a title. Here's the content. I like to generate excerpts because if I want to do a blog or something, I'll have that to the side. It's going to generate an image. And then I usually come back in and I'll take that AI content and I'll ask it to kind of give it a more human tone. And then afterwards, I'll drop all that stuff back into the Airtable and use that to create a social media post and even a blog post. So simple. I'm sure you guys have some of those out there, similar like this, probably more advanced. But this is just one that I want to show you here on how simple and easy it is to use this application. So after you have it built, like I said, you can come here and you can either copy the blueprint to a clipboard. You can export the blueprint, or if you have blueprints from someone else or some other sources, you can bring those in here as well. But for this exercise, we're going to just copy the blueprint to the clipboard. And then we're going to come back over here to Parse, and we are going to come back over here to Parse, and we are going to drop that code right here, and it's a make.com scenario, and we're going to drop that code, paste it right there. And as you can see, the continue to configuration button is now lit up. And here's the JSON of that simple make.com scenario that was built. And so I'm going to click the continue button here, and now you have some options. You can go ahead and change the name of the project, and I'll just go ahead and change this to article to social media blog / post. And then you can choose what output language you want to use, Node.js or Python. I'll leave it at Node.js. Deployment target, you have options here, standalone, Docker, or serverless with AWS Lambda. And then you can include Docker files, which I'll say yes, and include test or generic test files. I'm going to go ahead and say yes to that as well. And what it did here is it detected the services that were used in make.com. So you can see in that other scenario I showed, there were two instances to the Airtable, and then there were some instances to OpenAI to generate the content. And then the next thing you want to do is just follow the buttons here, click the preview and generate. And so now it's telling you there were 9 modules in that. I'm using Node.js in a standalone, and it's about 8 files here that are ready to go. And next, all you have to do now is just click the generate button, and in seconds, it will have the JSON code written into a file structure that can be used to build an actual user interface with it. And so here you'll see where this is the AI prompt that's generated, and it tells you there's a micro app code for make.com blueprint, and it's pre-built. It says I have a micro app generated from make.com automation scenarios. Please help me turn this into a fully functional application. And you can also edit this if you choose. If you want to add more detail to this prompt, you can do that here. But basically, it takes everything and it started to write this out for you into a prompt that you can use to drop into any other vibe coding application like Lovable or Rourke or whatever you use for vibe coding. And so it builds out this prompt. It tells about the core details. It also goes in here and talks about the functionality. This micro app converts make.com automation workflow into a standalone code. The primary purpose is to provide a self-hosted, customizable alternative to the original low-code automation while maintaining the same logic flow. It tells about the target audience, and it gets into a lot of detail that I would not have put into a prompt for a vibe coding app, not like this. And it does this for you. It's basically AI talking to AI. And it gives you the entire code structure here so that the vibe coding app has a lot of information to start working from. And it goes through and it talks about everything. And then it sums it up towards here at the bottom where you'll see it talks about the performance. It'll talk about security, scalability, implementation guidelines. And it also tells the vibe coding app what you would need help with. And so it's a fully comprehensive prompt that's built out that you can just copy and paste it right into Lovable and right into Rourke or any other vibe coding tool that you use. And so I haven't made any changes to this, and all I'm going to do now is copy it. And as you can see here, it says copy for AI. And now I'm going to jump over here to Lovable and drop this prompt in here and see what happens. And so here we are in Lovable. You've seen this before if you ever used Lovable before. And as I told you, I copied it, and I'm just going to go Control V and paste that right in here. And you can see there is all the information. and I haven't made any changes to it. I just want to do it just as it is. And then just go ahead and enter, and we're going to sit back and watch this thing do its magic. So I'm going to pause this video right now because we all know that this takes a little bit to complete, but I'm going to come back and let you know what has been done, and I will not make any changes or any more prompts to Lovable until I come back. But now, even before I start leaving, you'll see that there's a microcode for make.com. It talks about the project. I'll show you more details, core functionality, target audience, everything. Here's the code, generated code files. Everything is right there for you or for your vibe coding app to use all the way down. And now it's starting to build this out. It says I'll build a sleek automation dashboard that converts your make.com workflow into a functional React app with edge functions for back-end logic. And it's doing its thing. So like I said, I'm going to pause here and be right back once this thing is complete. Okay, as you can see here, this is what we got back from Lovable. Very basic, obviously. UI, transform articles into social media content, automatically fetch articles from Airtable, generate summaries, create headlines, produce AI images, and publish to social media platforms. And it says, please configure your API keys to run the workflow, which is normal. But it has workflow steps where you do all of these, where it goes through all of this. And so it's pretty cool. It gives you something that if you were building out a tool for someone who wanted to figure out how to do some social media posting, this would be a good way to do it. And you can see it's gone over here and it's listed out all of these different things. And it says, what do you want me to do next? Connect Lovable to a Lovable cloud, customize the workflow, or add execution history. Obviously, if you've ever built in Lovable, you know these are the next steps. So I just want to see what would happen if I configure. Let's see, it goes in here. We can paste your Airtable API key, your Airtable base ID, because it's going to sync up to that, your OpenAI keys, your Perplexity keys, and save those configurations. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to drop these in, and I just want to see how this might work. Okay, so I've gone through and I've added all of my configuration keys, my Airtable API key, Airtable base ID, and OpenAI key and Perplexity key. I'm going to save this configuration, and we're going to run this workflow. And so right now I just ran the workflow. It has pulled an article I had in the Airtable. It's doing all of these different things that the workflow scenario had already built in there. It's generating the image, humanizing the content, and there you go. In seconds the workflow is complete, and now I have some content. So here's my image that I asked for. Here is the content for the article, and it also tells me what's happening with the logs here. And so now you can really take off from this. You can add some more functionality to where it posts to social media, and it says social media blog output here. You can have it to where it posts to blog posts, social media. You can do a world of different things. But the great thing about it is now your customers or your clients don't see the traditional make.com workflow, and they have something that they're used to seeing, which is an application like this, where they can come in and run the workflow. And maybe you would have some stuff built in on the Airtable to where, you know, maybe an RSS feed where it would drop new files into the Airtable, or maybe you can have update this user interface here where your customers can submit an article and, you know, a link there, and drop it in, and then it would create some content. But the bottom line is I was able to take a workflow, a scenario from make.com, grab the JSON file, drop it here into Parse, and it would create this easy to use user interface. And now if you wanted to spice it up a little bit, you don't have to start from scratch. So you have a great start to building out these applications that you can put in front of people and your clients and customers. And it's great for building micro-SaaSes. So just a couple of functionalities that this application will do. You can turn around and add some subscription plans to this. You can do a world of different things. But what you didn't have to do was come here and start from scratch and build all of this stuff out and think everything through and try to figure out how to make it work like the workflow itself. And the workflow in the scenario is still intact. It's still doing what it's doing. All the behind the scene things are still happening. So if you ever wanted to figure out a way how to convert your workflows and your automations and your scenarios and turn them into a usable, functional app for your clients and customers, I highly suggest you consider using Parse. Parse is a great tool for that. Here are some of the features that Parse would have: multi-language output, instant parsing, complete projects, secure by default, workflow visualization, smart mode mapping or smart module mapping, modular architecture, and CLI ready. Liberate your workflows. Get started. There's supported modules, outputs, frequently asked questions, everything that you need to do to build your workflows. And everything is in here. And here is the pricing plan. You can start with a 14-day free trial, no credit card required. And after your trial, they only have one plan where it's $24.99 a month, but you can do up to 100 workflow modules per month. And as you can see in the one that we built out earlier, that contained 9 modules. So, you're talking 10 or 20 apps that you can build out each month, and just for $24. And $24 per month to save you hours of work on the front end to try to build and connect all of these scenarios, I think it's definitely worth it. It's a great tool to use. I've used it for several projects now that I've found it and started working in it, and I think it's really great. So if you've ever been looking for a way to free out your automations from Make.com and N8N and transform workflow blueprints into self-contained executable micro applications, you can do that completely, that you own, and all with a few clicks of a button, and it is ready to go. So I highly suggest you give it a try. Try the 14-day free trial, see what you think, and just let me know in the comments if you guys are going to give it a shot. All right, talk soon.